Hello everyone. I'm Mufaddal Sadriwala and this is SEO in 2024.
Mufaddal, what's your number one SEO tip for 2024?
So I am very much sure about the importance of visual elements in the world of SGE. So basically we all know that SGE is something which is rolled out on Google and the AI results along with obviously the text that is present over them. It also showcases images, videos, a lot of other formats of multimedia like GIFs, web stories, and all these visual elements. So, along with the text that we write, the content that we curate on the website, all these visual elements are also going to be very much important in the world of SGE that we are entering now.
Okay, so are you imagining there's going to be many, in fact, most queries that have visual elements alongside the text answer?
Yeah. I mean, with the testing that we are seeing right, I mean, the testing that we saw when it was open for a couple of people in the US as well as in India when later it was launched, we saw that whenever SGE was launched, we saw that along with the text on the right hand side, you saw images, you saw other articles linked from it, which was again with an image over there, and that was an image that was fetched along with the articles that was the featured image of those articles were fetched in the AI results over there. And along with that, we also saw that if let's say your query is very informative and it needs to have a video, so a YouTube video was also fetched in the SGE result, and along with the timelines, the time where you can find the exact information that you're looking for, and yeah, get that information right away. So basically what Google is trying to do with AI results is obviously along with giving very, I would say, simple answers, the answers that are there from the website, they are also wanting to push the visual elements as well, so that if there is a way people can understand it easily, or if there is a way people want to read more about it and people want to explore more of those results, so visual elements can really play a very good role in this one. And that can help obviously people to explore more or get the information over there very easily.
And are Google incorporating the visual elements from the web page only, from which they get the text, or are they also incorporating visual elements from other places?
That's a very very good question. In my opinion, the way I've seen it so far, it's not only going to be your website elements, or it's not only the source is not going to be only your websites, but or your articles or your pages, but it is also going to be fetched from other elements or other sources like YouTube, where a couple of now we know that the rise of YouTube Shorts, the short version of the YouTube videos. So that's also something that can fetched in the AI SGE results. Similarly, YouTube videos, the long form videos that we have, TikTok videos, your other social media platforms as well. We know Instagram and Facebook is something which do not usually get featured over there, but something from Snapchats as well can get featured over there. So I mean, the recommendation from my side is to have a top notch visual experience on your web pages, but at the same time also look at the way your content is being indexed on the other social media platforms as well, because if someone is making a brand search, they might see your top trending TikTok videos or your top trending YouTube videos over there. So it also becomes very important that your how is your brand SERP being in the era of SGE over here. So that's there, and along with that, the elements that can get fetched from your pages, from your websites would be your images, your videos, your GIFs that is there. Along with this, I'll also want to touch upon the web stories part, which is again going to be very crucial in the upcoming years. As we can see in the countries where it is launched, it is literally booming right now. Every publisher, large publisher out there is creating web stories and they are getting really great traffic from Discover. And web stories are also now going to be featured in the search results. So that's also something that can be fetched in the SGE results as well. So yeah, along with the websites, the other elements, the other sources of that would be your social media platforms from where Google can fetch data and show it across in the SGE.
Lovely. Okay, I want to come back to images on your own web pages just in a second. But in relation to what you were saying there, web stories, what kind of content should you be publishing on web stories?
The way, so because I've seen some success in this, so like I said, the web stories is your visual element, or your visual way of consuming the content. It's your visual content, so you want people to consume the visual content that you have on your website. Just to give you a very basic example, let's say you're a tour operator in India, and you have obviously tour packages to Europe, to America, to Australia, and all of these places. Now, if you were creating content conventionally, like if you had to create blogs, you would be saying, okay, top 10 attractions or top 10 cities to visit in America, right? So that would be like, okay, New York and Boston and Washington DC, and a lot of these things. And then you'll also have images and video elements in that as well, and talking about those stuffs in the content. Now, if you have to do this for web stories, your base or your important element over here is your images and your video that you have. And in that, it should be some of the text or some of the headers that you are going to be talking about. As an example, you are saying, okay, Boston is the top most or the best city to be visiting in the United States. So your important element over there should be the imagery, should be the Boston skyline, should be the museums that you should visit over there, should be the parks that you should be visiting over there. And there should be one liners or two liners about description about those places that people should be visiting. And then that's the way it should go around. So we have to flip around the conventional method of writing content and make it very visual heavy in web stories rather than making it very text heavy while you're creating web stories.
And the Google website says that the stories carousel is currently only available in the US, India, and Brazil. Is that right? And do they have plans to launch in more countries?
Yeah, so it's only available in these countries for now. And I specifically sourced for it on when it is going to launch in other countries. And someone asked John Mueller about it. And what he mentioned is they are testing it out in some of the countries. But what he's saying is it should not, it's not that if they are testing it out, it is going to be launched in that country. But they also look at the demand from people in that country. So if a lot of people are creating web stories in a specific region, and if Google thinks, oh, they are creating web stories and this is something which can be featured in Discover or Google search, then they might put it over there. And it's not limited to only these countries for now, because personally, even I've seen some of the web stories getting featured in the MENA region where I basically work for. So I've seen, and it's not that heavy like it is in India, but it is there where, some web stories got featured in my Discover feed and it was there. So if we try it out over there in the region that you are, Google might fetch your web story and put it across in Discover. And that's the way they can also test it out. So Google said they are testing it out. But again, for testing it out in the other regions, they need the content, they need the things coming out from the publishers so that they can test more of these and see how people are reacting to it.
So a good reason for, if you represent a brand who are moving to a new country, make sure you are aware of exactly what the SERP is likely to offer in that new country, because features could be entirely different to the one that you currently operate in.
Yes, no, definitely features would be different, and these kind of stuffs that we are talking about is, as an example, you are stuck with your SEO strategy. You need to find more avenues to get traffic. So these are the methods that you can explore and see if you are getting success with that or not. I'm talking about web stories specifically. So if let's say you are ranking for each and every keyword, you're working with a very large brand out there, and ranking on the first page for keywords is not a big deal for you, and you see, okay, your conventional methods of on page, off page, technical is everything is going smooth, but how can you get more traffic? This is the thing that you can explore out there and try and get more traffic and see if it working in your region, and try and get the most out of it over there. So yeah.
So the follow-up question that I wanted to ask you in relation to images in your pages and ranking for AI results, if you've decided strategically that you actually want to be the primary answer for a particular phrase or question within AI results, and you've got content on your web page for that, will having images, videos within your web page give you a greater chance of being that number one answer for that keyword phrase in AI results?
Definitely. Why will not that be the case? Because if your content is up to the mark, and if your images and your visual elements are also matching that, Google will not have any reason to not feature your website in the search generative results and the AI results basically. And one thing to note over here is also that from what we have seen so far is it's not necessarily that if Google has fetched your content, then they will fetch your imagery in the SGE results. In some cases, there have been that the content is fetched from one domain and the images and the videos are fetched from some other domain. So it's basically a mix and match of what Google is trying to showcase in the AI results. And it's not necessarily always coming from one domain over there. So even if your content is mediocre or probably not, probably, getting featured over there, you can dial down on your image or your visual elements strategy and get featured over there with that, and at least that can help you with discovery and more or basically more clicks coming onto your website from there.
Okay, and what do you have to do to optimize these images and videos on your website to make them likely to be used within AI results? For instance, for images, do you have to make them a certain dimension size? Do you have to ensure that they're original images, alt tags, captions? And for videos, if you're using YouTube to host them and embed them from there, do you have to try and actually have a popular YouTube channel to make it more likely for that video to be used as well?
I mean, I think you have given a lot of the actual best practices in your questions.
55 questions in one there, yeah.
And you have also given the answers to all the best practices with related to image optimizations over there. But along with all of those, along with having, I think the most crucial part over here would be having your images in a certain size. Again, there is no official documentation so far with in which element or in which dimension do they need the images to be, because obviously Google does not want to open all their cards to everyone. But what you can do is you can check the results and the websites that are getting featured over there, and accordingly check the size of images that has been put up on those websites, and accordingly try and adapt to a similar dimension to have the similar kind of ranges in the dimensions that can get featured over there. And along with that, obviously the alt text plays a very crucial role, which helps Google in understanding, I mean the description of the images, and that can get featured over there. And like you said, YouTube, popular, yes, definitely popularity of your YouTube channel is also plays a crucial role over here, because with AI results, Google is being more, I would say, more stringent in what kind of results do they showcase in the SG results that they have. So obviously popularity also, and your domain authority, your website's overall authority also plays a very crucial role of you being featured over there. But with that being said, we should also not just limit ourselves in thinking that if you're popular, then only you're going to be featured in this. But even if, like I said, if your strategy is heavily focused on wanting to help out the users with all the information that they need, I think that can also be, or that will also be a very crucial strategy to getting featured in the SGE, because it's not only limited to your authority, but also on what type of content you have put across and how are you helping the users. And at the end, obviously, Google also wants to do the same thing, where whatever information is helping out the users, they want to put that across and showcase that results over there. So it can get started with some long tail queries where people, let's say large brands, are not trying to rank for those, and probably some medium to small brands can get featured in the SGE over there. So that's something that can happen. But along with all the best practices with the image optimizations, dimensions is very important over there. Alt text is very important. Even your titles, the image titles, basically, whenever you upload the image, what does the title say? In which format is it? What is the size of the image? And a lot of these best practices that we have to follow. And I think that should be a good starting point from there.
Yeah, great advice. Essentially, what you're saying is success leaves clues. So if you're not sure precisely how you need to optimize something, then have a look to see why certain images are being utilized within AI results at the moment. And perhaps you might get clues in terms of image size, image type, obviously other elements that are optimized in relation to them. If an SEO is struggling for time, what should they stop doing right now so they can spend more time doing what you suggest in 2024?
Very fair question, and I really like this in all the conversations that we have. So with all the hype in the SEO industry because of AI and search generative and chat GPT and everything, I see a lot of SEOs are scared because of this. And I see a lot of SEOs spending time in looking for second career options and, trying to see, oh, if SEO is dying over here and SEO is not going to sustain now and this way. And my tip is specifically not whatever they are doing in terms of SEO, but whatever they are doing outside of SEO in trying to, look for other options in this niche. I would literally request them to not do that because SEO is evolving as it evolves every year or with every decade that we have. So it's just evolving with time, and we need to obviously be, evolved with the way Google is evolving the search results and their search engines and everything. So think of it on how you can evolve with time with the changes that Google is bringing to the table, and you will realize that SEO is not dying in the near future. With AI also coming in, obviously AI is there and it is going to have a good impact. I'm not denying the fact that it is not going to have any impact at all. But like I said, it's the race is becoming more strict. I would say it's more stringent over here, and it's like the competition is cutthroat. But that's where the test of all the SEOs is going to be, where how can you adjust in this way right now. Very basic example is before we had 10 search results where we had to compete and we were competing for top 5 positions. Now you have the top position in the SGE results that we have. So it has dialed down from being top 10 to top 1 that you have. So it's just basically the evolvement that happened in the results. So focus on how you can bear with that and that way, and not trying to look for other options. And I just want to also put one more very crucial fact over here is that back in 2020, back in September or November, September, October, I read a story. I'm not sure about the current numbers, but I read for a study where the chat GPT traffic was down by 10% already. So all the hype that was there after chat GPT was launched, that started subsidizing down over there. And I'm sure that would be something which would have continued for now as well. So yes, obviously these AI tools are there to help us, but people are realizing that okay, this is there and it can help us only by this much. But if we have to go further, they have to rely on the updated data from Google, from Discover, from your social media, and from a lot of other places where they get the updated information and the correct information over there. So yeah, that's what my tip is. Stop focusing or stop getting worried about what AI holds for us and start embracing it and start utilizing it over there.
It's evolving, not dying, peeps. Mufaddal Sadriwala is SEO manager at Assembly MENA, and you can find him over at mufaddal.digital. Mufaddal, thanks so much for being part of SEO in 2024.
It's my pleasure, David. Always happy to contribute, and thank you so much for inviting me again.
I've been your host, David Bain. Get your copy of SEO in 2024, the book, over at seoin2024.com.